Hello and welcome back to WagerTalk TV. This is the KBO betting show. It is Tuesday afternoon, talking about games for Wednesday, early morning in the KBO action. Soon enough, we'll be talking about baseball that won't be at 5:30 a.m. Eastern in the morning. No. How you doing, Dave? How are things?
Good. Couple of recap notes from the Tuesday schedule. I made some comments disparaging the LG manager last week. That he's an idiot. Okay, this guy's got no idea what he's doing. And I had nothing on this game, so this is a completely non-biased assessment. If you watched that game yesterday, I mean, they blow a big lead. That's not the manager's fault. Nobody could pitch. So they go down by 1 run. It's 8-7. And they get a leadoff double in the 8th inning. And this asshat, rather than another word, is bunting. But, I mean, what are you doing? You're bunting. You're giving away an out. When you're on the road, first of all, your bullpen stinks. You basically, unless it's the bottom of the inning and it's late in the game, you don't ever play for 1 run in this league. Mm-hmm. It's just stupid. And they didn't score, figures. Then they did tie it up, and then they blew it anyway. They gave up a walk-off to Ramos, what's the guy's name? The superstar.
10-9 final. I mean,
the Dinos.
What a game.
Who's the stud for the Dinos? Not for the Dinos, for the Wiz. Why am I blanking on his name?
Not Ramos.
Rojas.
Rojas. Yeah, Rojas. Yeah.
Anyway, that guy's. You got to factor that in. This guy blows games for his teams. He's the worst manager in the league. I don't even know what his name is, but he sucks. Okay. I got lucky with my game because it went to extra innings and somebody scored. And I won the over 10.5 on the Samsung NC game. Now, this is where you come in, Andrew, because you, like me, track lines all day. And this line moved. And you took advantage of it and want to bet the other way.
Definitely. Like, I was just ready to go to bed, taking a look at some of the lines, just seeing if anything piqued my interest last second. Ended up on the under 11.5. So both Dave and myself able to catch a ticket. Perfect example of what we're talking about pretty much for the majority of our shows is finding that right number that suits what sees fit. I want to touch on one thing before we start the show today, Dave, because I said during the year at certain points, like I was nervous to take a certain number for the first 5 innings. And my 4% best bet, once again, another package advertised play cashes for the clients with the first 5 under with the Joker taking on Alcantara. Scoreless through 5. I mean, didn't have to sweat that one out. No real worries. Ends up actually being a 6-1 ball game. But, it didn't matter if it was a 4.5, if it was a 5, if it was a 4. Those two guys are on a whole nother level right now. Alcantara and the Joker, compared to a lot of other guys in this league. I mean, they are pitching in a different league, a different class, a different tier, whatever we want to call it. They are on a different plane than other guys. I mean, just impressive stuff, Dave.
I would agree. 5 more games tonight.
5 more games tonight. We'll get into it right now. First one up we'll start with is the aforementioned game we just mentioned. Kiwoom Heroes, Doosan Bears. Slight favorites for Doosan here. What are your thoughts here, Dave?
Well, this is not quite as good a pitching matchup as the one yesterday. Troy's on the mound. His last couple of starts were bad. Now, he did skip him. They skipped a turn for him, so maybe he'll come out fresh in this game. He's been adequate at best. Park on the mound for Doosan. This is his first start. He has been semi-effective out of the bullpen. And I said semi because, you look at the ERA, pretty good. But then you look at the walks. And that could be an issue, especially with him starting here. This could mean guys on base. And it's just a different scenario. So the number's high enough to keep me off it at 10. But I think you could see some offense in this game.
Definitely. And you mentioned how we're going from one set of great pitchers to now these guys here that, haven't been too great. On a larger scale over the past couple of weeks here, we have seen Kiwoom score some runs coming off a game where they put up just 1. Have to think they bounce back against, a pitcher that hasn't been, quality, but hasn't been bad either. But I just think both these two teams are going to be over teams over the next little while.
And the thing is, the Doosan pitcher, I don't know how long is he going to work. 3 innings?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, that's 6 innings. 6 innings of any bullpen in this league is scary stuff.
Well, and that's the thing. You look at some of the stats on some of these guys, and you can really see, like, okay, well, he's allowed this many earned runs, but like you say, how many innings did he last? When is he getting
and the whip is kind of high. So he's been getting fortunate in terms of stranding runners. That's something that generally corrects itself over time.
Yeah, and Choi, we saw him against Kia pitch 7, but since then it's been back-to-back games where he's pitched 4 innings. First 5 innings in this game, the total is 6. I think that's actually pretty high, though, Dave. I might look the other way here.
But that does reflect that the odds makers are not giving these two pitchers much credit, and I'm not sure they deserve much.
And another shout I wanted to mention, we have someone in the chat box mentioning it, not trying to pat myself, but more so just point out these plus a halves when these two teams that are really, strong in the standings, number 2 and 3 seed with the plus a half. I think I give Kiwoom a shot to stay within it or win that first 5 innings. And we saw, like I said this morning, it was tied. Now it would have been a victory if you were on that wager. And tomorrow morning it's a minus 135. So I would actually look at that number as well with the Kiwoom Heroes once again for tomorrow. Want to mention it's confirmed first pitch will start Thursday. We'll have rotating guests, like I said yesterday on the show, throughout. So there'll be usually 4 of us on the video. Dave and myself will be constant, and 2 other rotating guests. We talked about the subjects on yesterday's show. Very excited to get going. Just honestly, Dave, looking forward to not watching baseball early in the morning or having to worry about setting my alarm to watch a baseball game, because I was watching the Astros game. I had a small bet on them just this afternoon, and just watching baseball in the afternoon just felt a little more normal, I'd say, than having to follow KBO. But we're having fun doing it. It'll be nice to get a little bit of regular time of games, I guess I could say. Kia Tigers, Hanwha Eagles. We saw somebody tweeting out today that follows us quite a bit was saying, keep betting against this team, minus 1.5 or 2.5. You'll be profitable. Well, Gagnon has been good. My question to you now is that we look at this team when they have Brooks on the mound or they have Gagnon, and it's just dominant. What do we see when it's the other guys now? Because Yang hasn't been good.
That's why they're 5 games over 500 as well. Mm-hmm. Yang's been pretty bad. And there just aren't any good numbers here. The ERA is high. His current form stinks. His whip is over 1.5 base runners per inning. The FIP is lousy. And he's the better pitcher in this matchup. Because the other guy's terrible. Kim,
just so many bad things, Dave, and then you say he's the best.
Well, he probably is. At least, let's put it this way. He's facing a lot lesser lineup. So he has the likelihood is he'll have better numbers than the Eagles guy, who Kim hasn't been very good. His last start was lousy. His numbers are just terrible. And the Eagles are back on another losing streak. They've lost 5 in a row. So there's no consideration for them. And despite the fact that Kia doesn't do a lot on the road, can you even count this as a real road game? I mean, everybody just beats up on this team. By the way, in their race to escape last, the Eagles have now fallen 5 games in back of the Wyverns, so that looks like it's over. I mean, they just can't hit, and it doesn't seem who they face. They just can't hit. So, do it. I don't have a play in the game because, quite honestly, I haven't been smart enough to just fade this team on an everyday basis. If I'd have done that, boy. But if you've been playing against Hanwha, there's no reason not to do it again.
Definitely. And no reason to not really look at the team totals under consistently as well, because that's been profitable on a large scale. The under 3.5 team total cashed again this morning. And, if you don't like this team, look towards their team total under or the opposing team's team total over if you don't like laying a price on anything.
Somebody, Young Thug, points out, check out his numbers last year. I stopped checking out last year's numbers about a third of the way through the current season. I do that in Major League Baseball as well because last year doesn't matter at that point. This year's all that matters.
I agree. I'm looking at the first 5 innings over here, Dave, in this one. We actually talked about how majority of the time we're going to stick to first 5 unders, full game overs.
Right.
It's appealing to me with the 4.5 minus 120 here as we're seeing the 9.5 as the full game total. I like what I'm getting, with these two pitchers actually in the first 5 innings. And I understand, just like you, the different team that this Kia team has been on the road versus at home. Seeing what they did yesterday with Gagnon on the mound, now we have 2 poor pitchers on both sides of the field of the matchup. I think we'll go over 4.5 here in the first 5 innings in this one. Like I said, most of the time I've been wanting to grab the full games with this, but I think this is a good opportunity, and I think this could be one where Hanwha could get a few here. You're going from a guy like Gagnon to a guy like Yang, who I don't see any. I don't see any positive numbers coming out of him anytime soon.
No, neither do I. So now we talk the Twins, and we'll see how they screw this game up. But I don't care what happens late in this game because I think the focus here has got to be on the early part of the game. Lee's been good. Okay, I mean he does have control problems from time to time, but they've done a good job spacing him out. He never pitches too in his proper. They give him a break after each start.
They've managed him very, very well.
They have. That's the one thing this nitwit that manages this team has done well. He probably is getting that from the pitching coach because I don't think he can make a right decision on his own. So Lee's been good. And Cuevas has really come on. He was struggling early, but 4 of his last 5 starts have been quite good. Now, the one fly in that ointment is that 2 of those 4 good starts were against the Eagles. But he's clearly throwing it pretty well right now. This is a game where, to me, you have to look at the first 5 innings. You just can't take your chances on a full game over with these 2 bullpens involved, especially the LG bullpen, which has really come upon some hard times lately. But I think there's a good chance this will be a low-scoring first 5. Now, the tough part is, look what the odds makers did. There was actually some 4.5 out there. There's some 5 as well. But the odds makers kind of indicating with the full game total where it is and a first 5 total where it is, they think this is a low-scoring game as well, or at least they're trying to influence the betting from that standpoint to keep people away from the under.
Yeah, Lee Min-ho has been a guy that I've been excited to back and be involved in starts where I've seen him play. More importantly, though, he's been a guy that's actually pitched well, not only against piss-poor teams, also against quality teams like NC, Doosan. That's what's impressive for me as well. I understand we like to, we can get out here and we can bash the manager. But like you said, if it's the pitching coach that's managing him, that could be the case. But I like the consistency with, if you look along the stats for him, how long he's lasting in games. It's been roughly 5 innings, 6 innings at the tops. It's been good to see that out of him.
He could go longer if he the only fault I find with him is that the games I've watched, he nibbles a little too much. He's got good stuff. Go after guys if you got good stuff. I think he could go 6 or 7 innings if he just gets aggressive.
Yeah, and I look at the game that we saw. We talked about it off the top, the collapse that this team had. I mean, watching the highlights on Twitter was just, you almost feel bad, but then part of me is like, you know what? Why do I feel bad for what's going on right now? Why do I feel bad, Dave, at that collapse that happened? Something tells me that this is going to be one of those ones where it's going to be a get right. And I use that phrase in a lot of like team sports where it's not, up and down, not just pitcher against batter. But I have a feeling that what we saw this morning, it could kind of turn into a little bit more of a lower scoring game. And, the pitching is going to, the huge emphasis is going to be on the pitching, how they manage it. And like I said, I've been saying all year long, even though it sounds weird to say, KT's comfortable in these high scoring games, but Cuevas has looked good. He's looked strong recently. Coming off 2 quality starts against crappy teams. How will he do against LG, a team that's, sort of been scoring, but they got one of their top pitchers up there? I like the under in the first 5 innings, but I actually am going to go ahead here and grab a small piece of the LG Twins on the money line as a get right game. We'll see if I'm bitching about that tomorrow on the show, Dave. I wanted to mention as well for everybody out there that follows both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. It is $2 Tuesday at both websites. Yanni the Greek has a 5% UFC play up for this upcoming weekend. And Dr. Chuck is back in action. He did excellent. He did great work at sportsmemo.com. Of course, I was over there just a few short months ago. He has a play up in the MLB. So both $2 Tuesday, Sports Memo, and WagerTalk.com. You honestly can't beat that. I believe it's 2 top plays from both sites. Go check that out for a great price, less than a cup of coffee these days, to go grab two quality bets.
Yeah, Ace has been just amazing with his UFC stuff. I mean, he really knows that sport. That's Johnny the Greek. Call him Ace.
Yeah. The information, the way that he follows the movement and the numbers is just, it's incredible.
Well, he's been heavy into UFC since it started. I mean, he goes way back to UFC 1.
Since before I was on this earth.
No, it's not that. It's only, 10, 12 years, something like that.
I guess, yeah. Sorry, you're going to be betting it at all, Dave? You've been betting it a little bit, haven't you?
I follow some sharp guys and making a few bucks for myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next one up
that's
here.
That's not my alarm.
Not mine. So unless a car is just getting broken into outside my house, I can't go play Hero. I'm live right now, so it'll have to be a different day. Samsung Lions, NC Dinos. We got Rasinski on the mound, Dave.
Yeah, big number.
9-1. He's been dominant, coming off shutout. He pitched 7 innings, scoreless against the Kiwoom Heroes. Previous to that, he shut down LG and Kia. What are we thinking here for a guy that's just, he's just getting the job done for his team? However, one thing to mention as well, he's getting the run support.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's got a great offense.
Yeah.
Which makes it a lot easier for the pitchers because they don't feel like they have to be perfect every game. Rasinski's just rolling along, 9-1, 2.06. He's got really good numbers across the board. 12? He's had 1 bad start all year. And 1 other where his command was a little off, but he got by in that start as well. Juan's been, decent for Samsung, but, the better pitcher here is Rasinski, and the better offense is the Dinos. So there's your $2 plus line. I can't argue with it. I'm not going to lay that much. But, if you want to bet the Dinos early in this game, I can't argue against that. I would worry about their bullpen, which again last night blew. I'm glad they did, but they blew a two-run lead late 8th inning. I think it was. Thank goodness, because otherwise I lose my bet. The bullpen actually was having a good night. They used, by the way, Samsung I believe used. No, it was the Dinos. I think the Dinos used 8 pitchers yesterday.
I can't wait for the batters must face three guys in the MLB.
Can't wait to see how managers handle that. Of course, you can still replace the guy if an inning ends, but it's still going to make for some really interesting decisions. I'm not going to do anything with this game. There's no way I'm fading the Dinos, though. They're winning. They're on another winning streak, and this is not a team you want to be going against when they're hot.
108 live viewers right now onto the KBO betting show. We appreciate each and every one of you for joining us. We'll see you on Thursday. Let's pack the first chat for first pitch. Getting ready for the MLB season. For myself in this matchup with NC taking on Samsung, only wager I've placed so far is the over 5.5 team total for the NC Dinos. For obvious reasons, this team can score. The run support's been constant when Rasinski is there. However, I don't really want to go against the better pitcher and want to in for Samsung. And I like the way you phrased that, Dave. He's been good for Samsung. He'd be good from any other team, but he's been more of a standout for a team like them versus anybody. I mean, we talk about the big 3 all the time for NC and the guys that they have. It's hard to really go pitcher for pitcher and matchup wise against a team like the Dinos. So I'm just going to limit guys to just the runs for this Dinos team for them to hit Samsung, whether it's early or late in the game. We've seen some 6.5s with the NC Dinos with team totals, and I've stayed off that for the majority for the obvious reason. 7 runs is a lot of runs. NC's done it. That's a lot of runs, though. So I'll go ahead here with over 5.5 team total with this one. Quick note here, WagerTalk TV, really, really close to 50,000 subscribers. We're producing content. I think it's been, 4 or 5 shows per day for free. for everyone to go tune in and get some betting information and some free picks. Hit the like button on the video and subscribe to this channel. It's all we really ask of you. Last game on the board, the Giants and the SK Wyverns. How about this matchup here? Jang Won Sam, not impressive. Not a guy that's, he's been getting knocked around by pretty much every team besides the bottom feeders. And, those bottom feeders, sometimes we can kind of call it a wash, especially if it's like, Hanwha. They just can't, they couldn't hit a beach ball right now. So we can't really count them. But this is a guy I don't want to bet on. And I don't want to bet on the Giants on the road anymore, Dave. Do you?
No. The better numbers here are with the Wyverns pitcher by a pretty good margin. Yep. He's Jang has only had the 4 starts, and one of them was okay. He has not impressed. I mean, the numbers are bad. 1.7 something whip, 6.41 FIP. Those are bad numbers. I realize it's a small sample, but bad is bad. Lee's been a lot better pitcher. He's in pretty good form. 3 of his last 4 have been good. The team actually wins when he's on the mound, which this team's 22-44, but they're 4-2.
Exactly.
With him, or he's 4-2. So they actually get him some runs. They've actually won a couple in a row. And if it sounds like I'm building a case for the Wyverns, here's the problem. They're good-sized favorites. By Wyverns standards, they're enormous favorites. And I'm not laying a price with a team like this with a team that's 22-44. I think the Wyverns will win, but can't back them at this price. Just can't do it.
Lee coming off a victory against not only number 1 team in the league, but also the number 2 team in the league. So we'll see how really dominant this pitching matchup is. I remember you said a while ago, Dave, you were mostly looking on betting on this team as an underdog spot or a short fave. This number has definitely climbed up a little bit. So can't blame you, but I'm gonna fade Jang Won Sam. I'm gonna fade this Lotte Giants team until they kind of explode for a few more runs for me. I think this SK Wyverns team, I've been very particular when I bet on them. I've bet on them a couple times against Hanwha, obviously. I bet on them a few times actually against Lotte in the past, maybe against Samsung. I haven't bet on them against 1 to 5 teams in the standings. It just hasn't happened, for obvious reasons. But I think this is a spot here where I'm comfortable doing it. Everyone there in the chat box right now, Gas Station Sushi, I appreciate you tuning in. Remember Dave from the 80s. Who's this? What show is this, Dave? Lee
Pete was a former quarterback out of Toledo, Ohio. Was Bobby Lane's backup for a little bit. He was the first person in the country really to do talk radio, which he started back in Toledo. And eventually settled out here in Las Vegas. And Lee had an enormously popular late night show from 10 to midnight on a 50,000 watt clear channel station. And that's back in the days when terrestrial radio was pretty big, still back in the 80s and 90s. I got a lot of attention being on with Lee every night. Great guy. Still miss him.
We have somebody here in the chat box saying, only when Straley is pitching, I like Lotte.
That's not the worst strategy in the world.
Yeah, but the irony is, it didn't used to be the case until they started scoring for him.
But it's corrected itself, which it almost always does. Sometimes a guy will go full season, and it's just the numbers won't jibe with what they should be. It's just one of those aberrational years. But eventually, if a guy's got really good numbers and he's not catching any breaks, it'll regress to a norm. And it has for Australia. He's starting to win games now.
So once again, it's $2 Tuesday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. I also have my package still up. It's actually been reposted, the KBO plus NHL special. Of course, once first pitch resumes and MLB is back, Dave and I are going to be slowing down our content with the KBO. But we're both going to be continuing our picks. The regular price of the NHL for the entire playoffs is $350 regular. We're giving away pretty much the KBO season for me plus the NHL, just regular price. So $350 for both the KBO season and the NHL. Find it on my profile page at WagerTalk.com. And Dave, you said you weren't doing KBO packages. Do you have golf up for the weekend?
The golf is up. I went with 4 outrights, all outside 40-1 this week. I think there's a
awesome
good chance we get a price. Hopefully, I'm on one of the right guys. And I will. I don't know what WagerTalk wants to do yet. I let them make all the decisions as far as the marketing goes. But I'll have probably some kind of an MLB NHL combo package as well as individual packages, and they'll be available by Thursday, I would say at the latest, since that's when we kick off first pitch or throw out throw out the first pitch, I guess is the right terminology.
All right. Thanks for your time, Dave. There's so many phrases. I find myself saying like, we kick off this game, and I'm like,
I get the sports mixed up all the time.
Say that. Yeah, like tip. I can't really use the term tip off in any other sport but basketball, or kick off and different things. But I think everyone knows what we're talking about. MLB starts on Thursday. I'll have some action up posted later on tonight at WagerTalk.com for the MLB. Thank you all for joining us. The support in the chat box and the viewership was great today. We'll see you tomorrow, regular time, 4 p.m. Eastern, the last KBO betting show for now, anyway. Unless it comes back, Dave, that'll be the last show for the season, I guess, for you and I. Appreciate you guys all joining. We'll see you tomorrow, regular time.